Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, and I tell it like it is, coming to you live to tape 20 feet below the surface of the earth. Here to bring you this week in pro wrestling history, fans. What I have for you today is a bevy of information, historical facts, and priceless tidbits of information. Welcome back, everyone. We are in November already. I'm sure everyone had a great time over the holiday Halloween weekend. I hope you didn't eat too much candy. And if you did, make sure you get to the dentist ASAP. Again, fans, thanks for being here. It's been a few weeks since the GOC Big Daddy has been here on this scene. But today is going to be a little different of an episode. Impromptu. Here solo, unique, a one-man conversation brought to you, the fans, because without you, this channel would be nothing. Again, go out there, like, subscribe, follow all social media platforms, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Gab, YouTube. It doesn't matter. And of course, my buddy over on Facebook, Jay Brony, and of course, my gimmick handle, Prodigio Fidelis El Guardian. That's where you get all the information over on Facebook. I'm very active on Twitter, as is Jay Brony over at Mario_Chaos. And I appreciate all you guys giving me back the feedback, the emails, the inboxes. Keep them coming to the Guardian of Chaos. What we're going to do here today is bring you back different historical events that were pertinent to yesterday through the holiday weekend, as I said, Halloween 2021, into today of this day in pro wrestling history, November 1st, 2021. So stand by, relax, don't go anywhere. This is what we do. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're bouncing over to YouTube. Remember to hit that Twitter profile at Big Daddy GOC, and that'll bounce you over here, Guardian of Chaos on YouTube. Don't you dare miss it. All right, fans, welcome back. It's been a little while. The opening monologue, no distraction, no hecklers. I'm down here one man today. Nobody to distract me. It's a beautiful Monday. We are heading into where we are going to fall back, I believe. It's this weekend when it comes to the Eastern Pacific Standard Time zones, so on and so forth. We're heading into the holiday season. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and don't forget, tomorrow, get out there and vote. Exercise your right to vote no matter which party, independent, Democrat, Republican. I don't care about any of that. But you use your right as a citizen, as a registered legal citizen, to get out there and vote for whoever it is that's, whatever it is that you believe in. That's my little PSA here on Chaos Corner. I'm not sure what show this is, what episode it is. I don't know. We're well over 70. We're coming up on 100. Let's see if we can push the subscribers, because you're getting all kinds of content. It's hit or miss. If I don't bring you a live to tape show or go live on Facebook, you can look back on the YouTube channel and see hundreds upon hundreds of videos with myself and all the boys from over the years. Very highly entertaining channel on YouTube. Let's jump into the time machine. We're really going to jump all over the place here on a Monday. I'm going to get this up for you, like I said, live to tape as soon as possible. Leave a comment. Let's share some laughter here at Chaos Corner. Let's start off with 1944. Travel back into the time machine here at Chaos Corner. Down with my boys over at the Dome. And you know who I'm talking about there, brother. 1944. Today, Bobby the Brain Heenan, WWE Hall of Famer, was born. Rest in peace, Brain. One of the biggest and greatest influencers, talkers in the business. Wish I would have met him, but I know he's in a much better place. 1944, Bobby the Brain Heenan. 1949, NWA World Champion Orville Brown is injured in an automobile accident, forcing him to retire. He's stripped of the title, and it was awarded to Lou Thesz, who Brown was scheduled to wrestle in a unification match later that month. Well, let's start off with the usual saying. You know what Bully Ray from Busted Radio, Busted Open said to me 25 years ago, I think it was 23? after a couple of different matches with the Outcast Killers for the NWA Tag Team titles and NEW, he said, Chaos, he said, Big Daddy, they give you 6 spots, you screwed up 5 of them. I consider that to be a compliment. I know it's old, I know I say it every time. I consider that to be a compliment. I was just listening to Bully and LaGreca before I came here down to Chaos Corner. What a great show they're putting out there. Let me tell you, if you're not following Busted Open, and they're not paying me for this, it's not a sponsor, they're not bringing me on there to give me the rub. I just call the facts and I tell it like it is, because you know that I do tell it like it is. And I'll say that to say this. Let's get back to what we were talking about. So that's a compliment from Bully Ray. Let's tie this up like a bow and move on here in Chaos Corner. 1980. Roddy Piper defeats Paul Jones in the finals of the tournament for the Mid-Atlantic title in Richmond, Virginia. 1981, Ted DiBiase defeats Paul Orndorff to win the South American heavyweight title in Louisiana. Some great memories here, priceless. Some of them I can remember like yesterday. Some were before my time. Some were when it was in my time in the business. Some are here from the local area. This is all over the world. This is the priceless facts. I want to give a big shout out to people who have done research for me. People over at PWI Insider, different facts over there that you can search on DuckDuckGo and different search engines. But you have to put your work in because you have to be accurate. So a big shout out and thanks to those certain people to where you rely on their stats and their knowledge because they're the best at what they do. 1981, as I said, Ted DiBiase defeats Paul Orndorff. We already talked about that in Louisiana. 1981, Dory Funk. See the subliminal signs as we go on here? Dory Funk Jr. defeats Bruiser Brody in Tokyo to earn the NWA International title. 1985, WWF wrestler Quick Draw Rick McGraw passes due to a heart attack at age only 30 years old. Now, I'll tell you, there was rumor at one time, speculation, you know how everybody is on A&E and on Vice and on Dark Side of the Ring, but this is rumored, if you do your research, is out there for public consumption. There were rumors back then in 85 that McGraw was hurt during a match with Roddy Piper, and there were rumors that injuries led to his death. That's, from what I consider, BS. Just things that you put out there for information that if you read it the right way and you go back and do your research, you find out what's true and what's not true. Horrible tragedy in 1985. I remember talking to Quick Draw, I believe it could have been in 1984 at Southern Connecticut State University at the field house. The guy was jacked, in incredible shape, and he was in the WWF at that time. So you don't know until you walk a mile in someone's shoes. We're not here to judge, pass judgment. We're here to give you the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. 1986, Don Morocco enters Boston Garden wearing a kilt to the ring in his match with Roddy Piper. Now, Piper hits the ring and went on to defeat Morocco, who had Fuji in his corner. What an infamous night in the Boston Gardens, 1986. 1990, at Budokan Hall in Tokyo, Jushin Thunder Liger defeats the Pegasus Kid, also known as Chris Benoit, to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. Also, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Riki Choshu defeats Shinya Hashimoto. Say that 3 times fast. Hashimoto. Konnichiwa for all my friends on the Pac Rims. Again, let's get it right. Shinya Hashimoto. If you're going to do it, get it right. We move on here in Chaos Corner. History this weekend, this past Halloween weekend, and this day in history, November 1st, 2021. Yeah, I know, double glasses. I'm getting older. It was my birthday last week. I'm just saying. Bear with me here. 1997, WWF champion Bret Hart gives his notice to the World Wrestling Federation and signs with the WCW. I remember this like yesterday. A confidential agreement. We all know what came out on Dark Side and the whole Montreal screw job. These are the facts. A confidential agreement is made to keep this quiet, a secret, until after the Survivor Series on November 10th in Montreal. Well, we know what happened from there. I'm not going to get into it. I'm here doing a different show on Chaos Corner. 1998, ECW November to Remember in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Blue Meanie and Supernova defeat Danny Doring and Roadkill. Terry Funk interferes and is dragged off by security. 1998, it's not that long ago. Tommy Rogers defeats Tracy Smothers. Little Guido, Chris Chetty, Mabel O'Ferman, and Spike Dudley all involved in that match and outside interference. You know ECW was pure chaos, and pun intended on that one. Lance Storm defeats Jerry Lynn. Mikey Whipwreck and Tammy Lynn, a.k.a. Sonny, are the special guest referees. Also, Dawn Marie and Lance Storm interferes on his behalf during that match. Remember now, November to Remember was one of the best pay-per-views. Pure chaos. And again, pun intended. Masato Tanaka and Balls Mahoney. Who's got big balls? You've got the biggest balls of them all. They defeat Bubba Ray and Devon, the Dudley Boys, for the ECW Tag Team titles. Now remember, Sabu and Rob Van Dam interfere and put the Dudleys through the tables. 1998, November to Remember. Jake the Snake Roberts and Tommy Dreamer defeat Justin Credible and Jack Victory. In an unbelievable match, Rod Price, Nicole Bass, Jason Knight all interfere in that Dreamer, Jake's not Roberts, Justin Credible, Jack Victory match. Think of the people all around and all the talent that was on that show as I run down the previews, highlights, lowlights, whatever you want to call about, from November to Remember in 1998 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Also, Funk comes out and challenges Dreamer during that. Tommy refuses, and if I'm not mistaken, the videotape could be right here at Chaos Chronicles. Funk ends up beating the hell out of Dreamer, and we know the history from there. Think about everybody in that match, and people even from this area. Unbelievable history of priceless tidbits of information on this show here at Chaos Corner. The Dreamer and Funk storyline, it never really materialized, if you remember it. It never got to its climax. Funk had health issues, other things went on, and we know the rest from there. We go on to November Remember also in 1998, 1997 for that Sabu, Rob Van Dam, Taz. They defeated Bam Bam Bigelow, Chris Candido, and Shane Douglas, the Triple Threat. Think of the card. Again, 1998, ECW November to Remember. Again, I believe I have the videotape over here at Chaos Chronicles. And it's very true about the Sabu and Dreamer, Terry Funk and Dreamer storyline and the unfortunate health issues. 1998, the World Wrestling Federation tapes its first episode of a short-lived Lucha Libre show called Super Astros in Austin, Texas. 1998, it's no longer around. Very short. Chiquito, if you will. I think I'm correct. 2003, Jay and Mark Briscoe defeat Special K, Izzy, and Dixie in Elizabeth, New Jersey for the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. Oh, how apropos. Ring of Honor, and just over the last, 24 hours, 48 hours, they released all their talent. They got one pay-per-view coming up in December. They're going to rebrand, reissue, redo everything. Steve Rosenberg could save all of this. The head man over there at Sinclair Broadcasting. I don't know what they're doing. I wish them well. There's a lot of great talent. They're going to sign on everywhere. This is just not great for Ring of Honor fans or Ring of Honor, but they weren't on a major platform. They had all the right players. They still have some great players. Jay Lethal, Grisham, the Briscoes, PCO. A lot of these other companies are going to get rich, which means the fans, people in the business, bookers, you're going to be loaded with that much more talent. So one door closes, another one opens. Let's keep it positive. Hey, out of sight, out of mind. We've learned that very, very well. Same thing that happened with the Super Astros Lucha Libre of the WWF in 1998. So again, 2003, Jay and Mark Briscoe, loyal to they were ROH Tag Team Champions back then. They're still on their game here now in 2021. 2005, WWE held their Taboo Tuesday, headlined by Shawn Michaels and John Cena and Kurt Angle in a triple threat steel cage for the WWE title. Also, Flair versus Triple H for the Intercontinental title. Big Show and Kane defeated Trevor Murdoch and Lance Cade and held on to the WWE Tag Team titles. Taboo Tuesday certainly became taboo because it was persona non grata very quickly. But 2005, you see they had the talent in there. This is where WWE started getting off track, if you ask me. Just coming from me. Hey, listen, I was introduced to the business in the early 70s. I had hookups in the 80s, went to school for in 84, made my debut in 92 as a manager, and still around today in 2021 doing whatever it is that I do. But this isn't, in my opinion, where it started. I'm just saying, as we're 15 minutes in here to Chaos Corner, a history retrospective, so to speak. So again, Taboo Tuesday, 2005. We go to 2006, the legendary luchador, Hurricane Ramirez, passes at age 80. Definitely in the lucha style and the lucha history. Ramirez, one of the best ever. And Lucha Libre is certainly one of the most purest, most popular, longevity-wise, fan-wise in the history, whether you talk about pure style wrestling, strong style, you talk about North American wrestling, you talk about Lucha Libre, whatever you want to talk about, independent pro wrestling, Lucha Libre is something that I was raised on, basically, and still watch to this day, whether it's CMLL, Triple A, so on and so forth, even the groups over, pure style over in Japan, whether it be IWGP, and now watching all the current product. I admit I don't watch as closely as I should, but I am in tune. And if I say it, take it to the bank of Watchovia. Well, I don't know if you should take it to the bank, but you get the point there. You get the gist. Let's move on here. In 2006, we talked about it, the legendary luchador Hurricane Ramirez, God rest his soul. 2007, WWE began publicly disclosing the wellness test failures. Speaking of that, it's funny that this is all apropos, and if you saw Dark Side of the Ring on Vice, they just covered the McMahon steroid trials from the early 90s. Boy, let me tell you something. Well, I don't know, whatever his name is, McVie, whoever the lawyer was, he's a pretty cool customer. A lot of chicanery went on there, and who knows the real deal. I guess only the people involved know what really happened there, but I'll tell you, the government wants to come after you, or this, that, whatever it is. Dot your I's, cross your T's, so to speak. So it's funny that in 2007, we know what happened in the early 90s with the steroid trial and what the series on Dark Side of the Ring for Vice. And 2007 is when they began publicly disclosing the wellness test failures. Took quite some time. I'm just reporting the facts. I'm just reporting it. 2008, PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, runs Battle of LA. Its fourth annual. Here it is, 2008. The guys that appeared on that, very relevant, a lot of them today, a lot of names, a lot of them not so relevant anymore. We had Chuck Taylor, Kenny Omega, Austin Aries, Nigel McGuinness, Low Key, Roderick Strong, Bryan Danielson, Davey Richards, Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks, of course, Chris Hero, Necro Butcher, El Generico, and Mr. Lollipop, Joey Ryan. Anyway, the whole point, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla 2008. So what's this, 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is still going strong today. You see a lot of talent has come from these different independent groups, whether it be Ring of Honor, Evolve, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, the certain groups that are around now, all the groups here in the Northeast, Tri-State, New England area. We could even talk about groups that I'm associated with, like Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. All the groups, it's unbelievable, the history of the lineage and what's going on in the independent wrestling. And you see a lot of these guys who have broken their bones in this business in the independent circuit are now getting a big shots and big chances, whether it be in AEW Dark, Elevation, Rampage, over an Impact. It's really a beautiful thing. Well, I have to tell you, MLW is really stepping up their game. NWA Power is still, they have come back and they have forged their niche back in. Let's hope it continues to be strong. The independents are running every weekend all over this country, and especially in this hotbed area. So there's a lot of things to be said for that and to be said for what's going on. And again, I hope Ring of Honor comes back. I had a connection to Ring of Honor at one time. I even talked to some people at Sinclair, and we all know the legendary Gabe Sapolsky, Ring of Honor. They ran a show, Evolve and Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, Evolve Super Show 95. It was Evolve and Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling in East Haven, Connecticut. What a show. And to work with, have guys there like Darby Allin and guys like Keith Lee and guys that have gone on and working with Gabe himself and Trevin and the whole WWN network and Evolve. You could see the difference in the guys that Paradise Alley that were able to work that day. Matthias and Richard Holiday and Nutrius X and Zane Lee Rude and the different guys that were on the show that day. Zafar, I'm sure I'm missing a few guys, but and Matthias DiNapoli, it was really just something to see that. And that's what I talk about. All these independents close or different things happen. You look at the groups that open up and pop up and now have great big shows. And I could talk about groups around here, whether from, as I said, and I keep saying it, Paradise Alley, Beyond Wrestling, Chaotic, the list goes on, of different groups that are doing big things. House of Glory's back. I mean, it's just a bunch of NEW's always a solid in the area. There's always something going on with a lot of talent. And these guys are getting big shots. Let's get back onto the history. I just wanted to relay that to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. 2008, we're in 2021. We may go on for a little while here. 2008, CMT, a Country Music Television, broadcast an episode of Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling. Do you remember that? 2008, featuring Frank Stallone, Jimmy Hart, Butterbean, Team Beefcake, Brian Knobbs, Team Nasty, Eric Bischoff, Dustin Diamond, Danny Bonaducci. I mean, really, the Doom segments and stuff like that. I watched it because I just like entertainment, as you can tell. But boy, has the business changed. It wasn't that long ago. And let me tell you something, some of the silliness and the different things that we tried out, you could see the difference in how it melds between mainstream and pro wrestling and kayfabe and reality and what people will do for money, fame, and continued careers. And I don't blame anybody. But 2008... Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling. I mean, does it get any worse than that? Anyway, 2009, Rey Mysterio's autobiography, Behind the Mask, was released. 2010, the legendary Edouard Carpentier passes at age 84. God rest his soul. 2010, on the eve of seeing that we are on election season, it is the eve of the election. Tomorrow's election day. Here we go. On the eve, this is 2010 now, on the eve of Linda McMahon losing her bid of becoming senator, the WWE sent out the following press release after the WWE was surrounded, actually, after they announced they would give away T-shirts once the state of Connecticut backed off and their ban of voters wearing WWE clothes to the polls. If you remember that. Now, this isn't that long ago. It's 10 years ago, 11 years ago. McMahon, very much into politics, Trump supporters, well-known. One has nothing to do with the other. Just that's their opinion. They have a right to it, just like everybody else has a right to it. I don't get involved in that bullshit. But fans were showing up in WWE garb. And there was a big to-do, especially in the Nutmeg State, the Constitution State, which is it's no bargain. Although the headquarters are in Stamford, I understand that. So it really was unbelievable in what the Obama administration did at that point. Remember, we're talking 2010. What the Obama administration did, Obama visits Connecticut on the eve of the midterm elections, and the WWE is being threatened by the United States DOJ from the Obama administration. And the WWE won the right in court. And the directive by then Susan Bysowicz, we know now, very apropos, still here in the state of Connecticut, it was overturned. And they were even being asked, the pollsters, when you vote, this is what started it all, that when they showed up there in 2010, when Mrs. McMahon was running for senator, they were asked to either remove or cover up their WWE clothes. Not much has changed. You see what's going on. I thought it very pertinent, all these different things. That's why I'm down here in the bunker. That's why I'm bringing you Chaos Corner live to tape. Longer than I thought. We're up at 25 minutes. Thanks for being here. We move on. 2010, Pee Wee Herman hosts Monday Night Raw for the WWE from Uniondale, New York. Obviously, we know where that is, the Nassau Coliseum. And they loved him so much, Pee Wee Herman. Let's not get into all that. I get it. I understand. Tequila. I get it. They like him so much, Pee Wee Herman, that he has a cameo in WrestleMania 27. I've always said this about, and I just got finished saying it 5 minutes earlier, about the different crossovers and mainstream and what people will do and different things that they'll come up with in movies and TV shows and reality shows, Roads to the Top, The Miz and Marie. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I think you do. Unbelievable. Pee Wee Herman. You only get that here on Chaos Corner. No one else is talking about Pee Wee Herman on their podcast or on their show. Well, maybe Danhausen is. I'll give him credit for that, Danhausen. He's entertaining. 2012 TNA broadcast an open fight night edition of Impact Wrestling. We all know the history and connection there and so on and so forth. On that show, Abyss, a.k.a. Joseph Park, good man, Aces and Eights, that whole angle, Sting, Christian Cage, Samoa Joe, ODB, Jesse Goddard, Robbie E., Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, and yes, of all people, the lollipop sucking Joey Ryan. Yeah, I said it. So that was TNA. I remember that. 2012 when they had the open fight night. That really interesting set of today, this day in November 1st, 2021, this day in pro wrestling history. Seeing that last night was Halloween. I know everyone's still got a bellyache. I know you all had too much to eat, candy corn. My favorite is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. If you want to leave a comment on what your favorite candy is, mine is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Although I'm not huge on candy, I'd rather have a piece of cake or something. I don't know. I'm trying to get in shape. Big things happening here at Chaos Corner. So, in honor of Halloween, I'm not really wearing a mask, although I am wearing glasses. Yeah, I just had a birthday. Pushing the big 6-0. I'm there soon. I don't know. What do you think? Not too bad. It's not about me. It's for entertainment. Let's move on. We're going to flashback to flashback. Let's get back in the DeLorean. Let me take a quick break here. Let me give you a little profile up here. We've done a couple different things down here in the bunker. Red Solo Cup to everyone. You notice I stopped with a lot of different entrance music. I only do ad-free. I don't want to get copyrights. Hit that button. Spread the word. Subscribe. We're really down here on the subscribers. I'm putting out a lot of information, if you're watching, on all the other different podcasts that I've been on. Wrestling with Everything Coast to Coast with the legendary Evan Ginsberg, Dr. Mike Lano, Buddy Sotelo, on The Curtain Call with John Filippelli and Kevin Sullivan. I was on Stu's podcast, say that 3 times fast, in the UK with Stewie John Palmer. I was on Stirring the Pot and the Kincaid Files with Don Kincaid. And, of course, semi-regular appearances on the PWZ, the Pro Wrestle Zone podcast with Rick Del Santo, expanding by leaps and bounds. So go back and check out on my channels on myself, the persona, the character, the person being on all these other great platforms. And of course, my usual, the people that I'm loyal to and listen to and get a lot of information from besides Sirius XM and PWI and reading the different things, putting the research in, hours and hours of videotape studying down here in the bunker or up in the office. Just a big shout out again to Busted Open, especially. You know who you are, JD from New York, 206 Off the Script. One of the best sources, tells it like it is. I can't say enough about JD from New York and supporting his show. And then again, for a different unique, a different standard of variety entertainment, but actual factual information as well. And that would be Don Tony. Wrestling Soup, Don Tony and Mish. They're unbelievable and outstanding. I really follow those guys. And if you want your entertainment, wacky, zany part of it, but with a twist of reality, I also pop in on the Joe Cronin Show. So those are the different folks and people that I think you should be watching and listening to if you want history besides being here. I push everybody over. I listen a lot and don't always agree, but I listen to the Cornette Experience. I listen to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, the different people that I like to listen to and get their perspective right, wrong, or indifferent. So just want to let you know where I'm coming from, the actual evidence and research and the effort of what I put into this program, whether I'm here once a week, daily, monthly, bi-monthly, it doesn't matter. So I just want to hop back in DeLorean, give a little break here. We're up on 30 minutes, and then we'll get out of here. And it's going to be about, I'm going to say 45 minutes, but great information. It gives me chills. It brings you back. It's nice and relaxing. Here we go. 1963, Halloween. The WWF in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol Arena, headlined by Bruno Sammartino and Argentino Apollo against Killer Kowalski and Hans Mortimer. They went to a draw. 1964, Comac, New York, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Gene Kiniski pins Pedro Morales. Jim Hardy beats Arnold Skaaland. Haystacks Calhoun pins Klondike Bill. Bill Watts and Don McClarty defeat Luke and Jerry Graham. And Bruno Sammartino, the heavyweight champion, and the legendary Gorilla Monsoon battle to a draw. That's going to leave a mark. Excision headache number 5. The irresistible force meets the immovable object in Comac, 1964. 1967, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation World Heavyweight Champion Bruno Sammartino defeats Luke Graham in Nashville, Tennessee. Everyone thinks that they had their promotions into territories back then, and I get it. You had the Mid-South, the Mid-Atlantic, you had so on and so forth, the different groups in Florida, Georgia, the whole 9 yards. Senior was in charge of the Northeast. You had the Cow Palace, the Olympic Auditorium out west. You had the legendary Pacific Northwest areas. You had Bosch. You had much of the people out there in Midwest. Detroit was big. You had Mushnick, not Mushnick, the reporter, this famous guy there in St. Louis. Unbelievable history that we sit here, we go through. And you talk about territories, but there were a lot of out of territories by different groups even back then. We're talking 1967, where Bruno defeats Luke Graham in Nashville, Tennessee. Think about that in relation to the territories. 1970. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I know I was rambling around there, and it was but we tie it like a little bow. I just want you to understand the history of what's going on here in this podcast. 1970, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation in Philadelphia, headed by Bruno Sammartino and Chief Jay Strongbow, fighting the Mongols to a draw. Unbelievable history. We move on here at Chaos Corner. 1970, the AWA in St. Paul, Minnesota. Red Bastien and Pepper Gomez defeat the AWA Tag Team Champions Mad Dog and Butcher Vachon via disqualification in a best 2 out of 3. And it's apropos that we talk about the Vachons when they just had Dark Side of the Ring, Luna Vachon, an unbelievable episode, an unbelievable story. And again, what they're doing, a lot of people are shitting on the product. They all have their opinion, which I respect all that. I agree sometimes. I don't always like their stories. I'm not sure about the artifacts, the relevance. They seem to do their homework. It's been interesting and riveting, but it is Dark Side of the Ring. Let's not lose sight of that. So Red Bastien and Pepper Gomez over the Vachons via DQ in the best 2 out of 3. On that same card, Bull Belinsky defeated Larry the Axe Hennig, and in an arm wrestling challenge match and also in a bout, they met twice that night. We just talked about Edouard Carpentier defeated Stan Kowalski that night. Blackjack Lanza defeats Santiago Acosta, and Paul Diamond defeated Bob Windham, the future Blackjack Mulligan. 1970, AWA, St. Paul, Minnesota. Not a place I'd want to visit now in 2021. 1971, the AWA in Moline, Illinois. The Crusher defeats Dusty Rhodes by disqualification. Don Morocco and Lonnie Kaloha defeat Superstar Billy Graham and Rene Goulet. Bull Belinsky on that same card defeated Dick Murdoch. 1973 AWA Chicago. The AWA Tag Team Champions Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens defeat Billy Robinson and Red Bastien. On that same event, Jimmy Valiant defeats Bull Belinsky, and Superstar Billy Graham and Wilbur Snyder wrestle to a no contest. 1979. Giant Baba defeats Harley Race for the NWA World title in Nagoya, Japan, ending Race's 3rd reign, as a special note here, as the NWA champion, and beginning the Giant Baba's 2nd reign. This is what you get in Chaos Corner. 1982, Tunnel Promotions in the Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens. Here's the card. Here's the lineup. The Destroyer over Mike Davis. Leo Burke over Johnny Weaver by disqualification. Leroy Brown over King Parsons. Salvatore Bellomo over Swede Hansen. Jimmy Valiant over Ivan Koloff in a Siberian Salt Miners Glove match. And Buddy Rose defeats the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion Bob Backlund by countout. 1983, Johnny Mantell defeats Jimmy Garvin for the WCCW World Class Championship Wrestling TV title. 1983, NWA World Champion Harley Race defeats Ted DiBiase during an All-Japan event at Wakamatsu, Japan. 1983, Jarrett Promotions and the CWA at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. Here's the lineup. Here's the matches. Maybe I'm missing some. Maybe I'm not. Bobby Eaton, Bobby Fulton, the Jaguar, and James Daniels defeat Carl Fergie, Lucifer, Russian Invader, and James E. Cornette. That's right, Jim Cornette. Jerry Lawler, Austin Idol versus Dutch Mantell and the Moondogs. The Rock and Roll Express, the Fabulous Ones, Tommy Rogers, Dennis Condrey, Tommy Rich, Coco Beware, Pork Chop Cash, Tom Pritchard, and the Fabulous Moolah. What a card between Jarrett Promotions and the CWA. 1983. At that point, we'll see, I was 20 years old in 1983, and I remember watching this. Unbelievable. Seeing a videotape of it. I'm not sure. Jarrett Promotions, CWA, we know what went on to happen after that. But again, if you talk about territories, we talk about wrestling as a young man and then being involved in the business, especially in the 70s and 80s, the Mid-South Coliseum, the Mid-South Wrestling, what Lawler and Dundee, and especially Lawler, did for that area of pro wrestling. It just was, there was second to none if you get a chance to ever research that territory. You know, I've had several chances over the years to work and be in the presence of Jerry Lawler. And let me tell you, say what you want about the King, puppies, this, that, women. None of that affects me because he was always a gentleman and professional to me, no matter what you think and what he's done for this business, all the way back to Andy Kaufman and David Letterman. And again, I mentioned that whole cross stream between media and celebrity and Hollywood and sports and athletes and entertainers. It really was priceless. And if you, the one thing I love most about the pro wrestling business, whether it be 2021 or 2010 or 1995, 85, 75, 65, is the history of pro wrestling. That's one of my wheelhouses. The one thing I enjoy most is the history and going back and looking at the money that was made and the gates and the receipts and the different cards and who went over and the storylines and the psychology, the emotional investment, the storytelling, the history of it. Today's is great. It's unbelievable. These athletes are like stuntmen, gymnastics. The competition's unbelievable. Some of the guys I see at Paradise Alley and locally, and then what I see in the major leagues on TV between AEW and SmackDown and Raw and MLW and NWA, and I can go on and on and on. And New Japan, it really is kudos, unbelievable. But this is what I love. This is what brings me back, and that's why I'm so big on memorabilia and photos and anything I've ever done and programs and stuff like that. It's that kind of stuff that means something to me personally. Could never take that away. Just throwing that in there as we go through some beautiful history here. Priceless, in my opinion, and the different promotions. We move on to this date, this weekend in history, live here at Chaos Corner, live to tape with it's me, it's the GOC. I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. I got to throw the regulars. It's good to be back. I'm having fun. 1984, Championship Wrestling from Florida, Fort Lauderdale to be exact. The Saint and Mark Youngblood battle to a draw. Jay Youngblood defeats Coco Samoa. Crusher Khrushchev and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, along with the Saint, defeat the one-man gang, Larry Hamilton and Pez Whatley. Mike Graham and superstar Billy Graham defeat Kevin Sullivan and the Purple Haze. Jesse Barr over Scott McGee on that same card, and Dory Funk Jr. went over on the NWA champion Ric Flair via disqualification. Been talking about the territories and the one thing and flashing back in history. There was nothing like the 80s and the Florida Championship Wrestling and Georgia Championship Wrestling and even Joe Pedicino and Gordon Soley's This Week in Pro Wrestling and their show there in the 80s. unbelievable. The times and the business, to me, the 70s and the 80s were the best. I know a lot of people talk about the 90s and the Attitude Era, and now with AEW and all the different things. I was already in and out of the business several times, a grown man, but even as a kid, the 70s, and then as a young man into the 80s, those were the times of my life. Not being old school, not being bitter, not flashing back, not looking back, not sitting here and not appreciating the present, because I love the present. I think it's great for the fans, and I'm still a fan at my age. Did we talk about my birthday? Let's not bring that up again. We're 40 minutes in. I'm almost ready to wrap this up. Unbelievable. We were just talking about the Florida Championship Wrestling and the territories, and if you haven't gotten a chance to go back and look at those on YouTube or whatever device that you watch, you really should learn your history of this business. 1987, the AWA is Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Dick Slater over Alan West. DJ Peterson over Kevin Nails Kelly. And if you watch Dark Side of the Ring, you'll know the name Nails. Adrian Adonis over Mitch Snow. AWA champion at the time, Kurt Hennig over Tommy Rich. Crusher Blackwell and Wahoo McDaniel over the AWA champions, the original Midnight Express, by the disqualification. Now, Crusher Blackwell and Wahoo McDaniel, legends, unbelievable. We talk about the original Midnight Express versus the Midnight Express. You had Bobby Eaton, you had Stan Lane, you had Dennis Condrey. You make the decision. Listen to Jim Cornette's podcast. I'm not pushing for him. He don't pay me or sponsor me either. So I really have no vested interest in this. It just, you understand what I'm saying? Entertainment. So you decide on who do you think the original Midnight Express was. This is 1987, the AWA. Also, DJ Peterson won a street fight battle royal that night. If you remember where the AWA was in the late 80s and all the stars that came out of there, especially Crusher Blackwell, Wahoo McDaniel. But I always found it interesting over the years, what being NWA, WCW, AWA fan, world class, all that. Of course, the WWF, but the difference, because I listened to Cornette, the Midnight Express, the original Midnight Express, and the different runs, and looking at his perspective of the business back then. You really learn a lot. Not saying, listen, he's one of those guys that he'll sit there and bash things on political or his viewpoints, and then he's agreeing with it the next. So I get it. I understand. Take it with a grain of salt. Form your own opinion. I don't listen to anybody else's opinion and make it my opinion. I form my own opinion, but I'm willing to listen to anybody. So it's pretty interesting to see the correlation, the elevation. Let's say that 3 times fast. 1989, World Wrestling Federation Saturday Night's Main Event. One of my favorite shows. A little hokey, a little corny, a little gimmicky, a little cartoony. I get it. I was in my middle 20s at that point. Knew some of the guys. A lot of my friends, even to this day, were in the business, in the WWF at that time. But 1989, I used to enjoy this on Saturday Night's Main Event. And here's the note. This was taped in Topeka, Kansas. Little history here. Taped for NBC, which did an 8.7 rating. Let that sink in for all you people that follow Meltzer and Alvarez and Wrestling Inc. and PWI and Vince, whoever you listen to, and they talk about all the ratings. Even Tony Khan himself and McMahon and breaking down the quarters and this and that. 8.7 and 89 for the WWF, a taped show for Saturday Night's Main Event. And the note, not only the rating there, but the note that in the main event, this would be one of the last times, if I'm not mistaken, the last time ever that Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard would team together ever. They were known, obviously, as the Four Horsemen in the NWA and WCW. We know the history. WWE, WWF, they were the Brain Busters. This match was taped for Saturday Night's Main Event. Tully was, I believe, in rehab at the point by the time this had come out weeks later. Arn had already gone back to WCW. He was already gone by the time this hit the airwaves. Nobody knew anything. People were following The Observer or The Torch or Bill Apter or One Wrestling or Georgie Emmerkrop, something back then, the people that were legit legends. But that night, the Rockers went over on the Brain Busters in a 2 out of 3 falls, and I believe it was the last time ever that Tully and Arn teamed together. 1989 WWF Saturday Night's Main Event, taped in Topeka, Kansas. Also on that show, the Ultimate Warrior went over Andre the Giant by disqualification. Dusty Rose defeats the Big Boss Man. Leaping Lanny Poffo by countout and due to interference by Kurt Hennig went over on WWF champion Hulk Hogan. Say your prayers, eat your vitamin, brother. What you gonna do? No, I don't think I've ever really imitated him. That was a cross between Macho and Hogan, but Leaping Lanny Poffo, the poet laureate, if you will. Also, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, that I just mentioned, went over on the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor. One of the worst gimmicks, probably in the history of pro wrestling, but if you're getting paid, I get it. The Rockers, as I said, over the Brainbusters, and again, check my history. I believe I'm correct. Tully and Arn, 1991, the legendary Gene Anderson of the Anderson Brothers, the Wrecking Crew, passes away. 1991. Also 1991, WCW in Phoenix, Arizona, at Arizona State University for a free show. Dustin Rhodes and Stone Cold, not at that point, but Steve Austin went to a draw for the TV title. Matt Bourne over Johnny B. Bad, a.k.a. Mark Miro. Van Hammer over Thomas Rich. And Lex Luger went over on Brian Pillman. That's right, the original Brian Pillman, in 7 minutes. Luger was the WCW champ at the time. So look at that for a free show, 91, WCW in Phoenix, Arizona, and the different names. I love history. History of this country, history of the world, history of baseball, history of sports, history of pro wrestling, and my history. 1990, ICCW for a local connection, and the Savoldis in Delhi, New York at the State University of New York College of Technology. Say that 3 times fast. GQ Madison over the Henchman. Equalizer Zap defeats the Mad Russian. Curly Moe defeats Psycho. IWCCW Tag Team Champions, The Undertakers, defeat Eric Sprasia and GQ Madison. The Undertakers from the 90s, New York, sold the gimmick that they had to WWE. McMahon gave them a couple of matches. They jobbed out. Persona non grata. The Undertaker is now the biggest legend in wrestling history. Here in 1990, ICCW. Here in the Northeast, Jumpin' Joe Savoldi, Delhi, New York. The Undertakers, I might as well say Underfakers, defeat Eric Sprasia and GQ Madison. Also on that card, Tony Rumble, the Boston Bad Boy, defeats Slam. Big Sweet William versus Equalizer Zip ended in a double disqualification. GQ Madison also won a battle royal that night. And the IWWC champion, ICCW champion, Vic Steamboat, that's right, Ricky Steamboat's brother, Vic Steamboat, went over on the Tasmaniac. That's right. Taz, the guy you know now, Taz, the Tasmaniac. Remember that, 1990, ICCW, the Savoldis. What a lineup. What a bunch of local legends and guys that went on to do big things in this business. Really was unbelievable. We also go on to for some local notes here and people that I know that may even follow me still. 1997, this is legit notes, research. Do your due diligence. 1997, Bayonne, New Jersey. Joel Rules wins a battle royal to become the first Jersey All-Pro heavyweight wrestling champion. Then loses the belt on the same night to Pitbull number 2. Let me say that again. 1997, Bayonne, New Jersey. Joel Rules wins a battle royal to become the first Jersey All-Pro wrestling champion and then loses the belt on the same night to Pitbull number 2. Only you, Joe Rules. Only you. But Joe ruled in 1997 on that night. Congratulations on the first Jersey All-Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. 1997, that same year, ECW at the Twin Rinks in Stamford, Connecticut, and then we'll wrap it up here. We'll keep it under an hour, well under an hour. ECW, Stamford, Connecticut, Twin Rinks. Tracy Smothers and Little Guido, the ECW Tag Team Champions, defeat Mikey Whipwreck and Chris Chetty. Paul Diamond defeats Al Snow. Tommy Rogers over Roadkill. Justin Credible over Jerry Lynn. Shane Douglas and Chris Candido as the Body Donis defeat Doug Furness and Phil LaFon. Tommy Dreamer over Rob Van Dam in a WWF flag match. ECW heavyweight champion Bam Bam Bigelow pinned Spike Dudley for the TV championship. Taz and Sabu went to a 30-minute draw. And then in a three-way, Axel Rotten, Balls Mahoney lose to New Jack and Cronus. And of course, the Dudley Boys. That's right, what a three-way. New Jack and John Cronus over Axel and Balls and Bubba and Devon. So there you have it, fans. 1997, Stamford, Connecticut. I wanted to end on a local note here in the tri-state Northeast New England area and all the insanity. We're at 50 minutes. I can't thank you enough for being here in Chaos Corner with yours truly. I had a lot of fun. I'll be back soon. And of course, before we get out of here, hit me up on all social media platforms. Subscribe, follow, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Let's spread the word. Let's have some fun. I had a lot of fun. It's entertainment. And you know what? As we sit here and ponder and have a moment to think about things, and even locally, I want to throw this note out there before I wrap it up. November 13th, less than a couple of weeks away. Type 1 to none, round 3 for Team CC and juvenile diabetes at the Greater New Haven JCC in Woodbridge, Connecticut. What an unbelievable event. All the superstars are going to be there from Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. Obviously, the legend Paul Roma. Mario Mancini is in a retirement match against current Alley Fights champion Dustin Flash Waller. Last man standing is going to be the monster, the giant Vlad, and Showtime Marcel Williams. The tag team titles are going to be on the line as the Haven, Sean and Jay Haven, Sean Knight, Jay Onyx, take on for the very first time, I believe, Insanely Rude. That's going to be unbelievable and worth the price of admission alone. There's other matches on there, like the main event. The Uruguayan sensation, the reigning defending heavyweight champion, Matthias De Napoli, takes on an unbelievable challenger in Colossal Mike Law. This is going to be an unbelievable night. November 13th. And again, there's more matches to be announced. There's more. All the stars from Paradise Alley are going to be there. So there's plenty more. Stay tuned to all the social media. Follow me on all social media platforms to get the information. It's going to be an unbelievable night for an unbelievable benefit. Team CC, type 1 to none, round 3, juvenile diabetes. It's one of the most important shows of the year. So we'll leave it on this note, and we'll come down to a local note. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Chaos Corner. I'll be back. Don't you dare miss.